The bee or not the bee? That is the question I ask myself every morning as I drink from my the bee or not the bee mug. Now you too can drink from this amazing coffee cup and ask yourself the same question. Which is better? It's so hard to decide. In fact, I would say it's absolutely the Babylon Bee, but not the Bee's pretty cool too. Enjoy this mug.
Have you ever seen those crazy prank shows where people get pranked and then other people are pulling the pranks and the guy getting pranked doesn't know he's getting pranked and he's like, "What? You're pranking me? What?"
I am a connoisseur of such shows. Scare Tactics, Fameless. Fameless, I don't think a lot of people know Fameless. Also Prank Encounters on Netflix. Fameless is a prank show by, well, I think we talk about it in the interview, but we have David Storrs, or Dave Storrs. I don't know, he's a cool guy, so he probably goes by Dave.
David.
If you watch these lots of prank shows, including the three I just mentioned, he is very often, I don't know, did he give us a name of what that part he plays is? He's always the guy that's kind of like with what they call the mark. So the person who doesn't know.
I feel like he did give us a name, and now I don't remember.
Yeah, so he's often, like if they put a guy, like often they'll do a situation where a guy is going on a ride along with the cops, and he's going to get into some crazy situation, and the cop that they put him with is Dave, and he plays this idiotic cop who just doesn't know what he's doing. And so it forces this guy to take charge in a very dangerous situation.
Yeah, he's like the guy sitting near them that's kind of making them feel like, this is weird. And
he works at the chemical company and he's dropping chemicals everywhere. He's clearly like a improv comedian, a very funny guy if you watch these pranks. I've been a huge fanboy for a while. So I just decided to find him on Twitter, and he's on there, and I messaged him. I'm like, would you be on our podcast? And he said, sure. And what ensued is one of my favorite episodes we've ever done.
And the best part is we didn't have to be hilarious as we usually are.
Yeah.
Because all we had to do was say, tell us another funny story about
exactly
people.
The kind of podcast we like. We just said, tell us stories, and he just told us stories. His last name should be Stories, not Dave Storrs.
So close.
Yeah, so close.
So close.
So without further ado, I mean, he's coming. He's here.
He's right here.
There he is. Why are you freezing? Oh, hello. Well, here we are in the Babylon Bee podcast. Now we do a lot of, politics and theology and
stuff about God, and the Bible.
Jeez. But what do we never talk about prank TV.
I guess we haven't, huh?
Now, I am a connoisseur of prank TV, and we have the Lin-Manuel Miranda of pranks right here. David Storrs. Now, if you don't know who David Storrs is, he's from Fameless, Prank Encounters, Scare Tactics. What else we got on the list?
We've got Double Cross.
I'm going to look that up.
Yeah, that's with Chris Webber.
Okay.
I did a Fox. It was a 1 hour special called with Terrence Howard, Fright Club.
Okay, gotta look that up.
That's a great name.
Yeah, right. It's good. And then I think you hit the major ones. Yeah,
Okay.
Scare Tactics, Fameless, and Prank Encounters.
So I'm a huge fan of Fameless, but I don't know anybody else who's watched it, except for my wife.
It's mostly 10-year-olds.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm
Which
huge.
explains
That's
a lot.
sad, actually.
I'm huge with the 10-year-olds.
Big with the 10-year-olds.
Yeah.
I don't know 10-year-olds watch True TV.
Oh, I did Shaq. I did a pilot called Shaq's Got 'Em Good, where Shaq pranks.
Oh, okay.
But it's more good-natured.
To Shaq.
Good nature.
Fameless is a David Spade connected. How deeply was David Spade actually connected? Was he
was
writing a lot?
I don't know. He wasn't writing a lot, but he would come to a couple meetings in the beginning, and then he would do 1 or 2 pranks.
Okay. Yeah, I remember
a
he's
season.
on there a few times.
Yeah. He was always uncomfortable.
Oh.
Like backstage, he's like, I think we should reveal. I think this is getting too awkward.
Oh,
Yeah.
Like he'd want to end the prank early?
Right away. He's like, I don't know, man. I'm uncomfortable.
That's my problem. That's how I would be doing pranks.
I know, I was
Just
feeling
the
bad.
awkwardness. I would immediately feel like,
Oh, that's my jam there, man.
Okay.
The more awkward it
I want to
is,
dig into that.
the more I love it. I'm like, let's just hang out here for a little bit, be awkward.
So my first question is just like, you're clearly a comedic actor from when I've seen you on these shows. You're so good at playing an absurd kind of doofus.
Yep.
Like they have these ones where a person, they think he's a real cop, but he just has no idea what he's doing. And they're on this ride along with him.
Yeah.
And so I assume you started out as an actor, but like, how do you go? What was your journey into pranking?
Well, I did the Groundlings, which is an improv troupe out here in Los Angeles, and I was in the Sunday Company, which is kind of like their B company, doing sketch and improv. And I studied acting in college at Ball State. Okay. So I was a theater major. And so then the casting director for Suzanne Broderick for Scare Tactics came to a show, and I got invited to audition for Scare Tactics. And then, the first, and that was shot out in Vegas. And I think I did the second season is when I first started. And I just fell in love with it. I just loved because it's background in theater, it is kind of like a live performance. You get one shot at it.
Right. Lots of improv.
Yeah. Your audience, you have an audience of one who it's your job for them to think you're real and to think that you're believable. They can't sniff out like, what is this so crazy? And like Scare Tactics, you're having people believe in aliens and the absurd. So it's the psychology of like taking someone so I would, when I first got cast in a lot of these prank shows with Scare Tactics, I was always, we call them the shill or the friend role, but you want someone to go along with you so you're not the only crazy person, or you're not the person that's always around the crazy people. You want someone to be like when, Sven, one of our actors, Sven, he's got the long hair. He usually does those.
Oh, the big scary guy?
Yeah, the scary guy or whatever. It was Scare Tactics. There was always this enemy or element or this danger. It could be an alien. It could be a crazy person, a mob person. But when they leave the room, and you want to leave the mark alone. So we always have to have someone there, with them. And it's always just like they leave the room and you're like, even like that look like. And sometimes you don't even have to say anything. Like, you don't be like, hey, that guy's crazy, right? But you just like look and go, well, and then they start talking like, yeah, that guy's crazy. I'm like, yeah, I think so. Yeah, right.
And it probably keeps them from booking out of there as often because I know you had some pranks where people just take off.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We have people run because which is natural, man. I mean, that's I met my wife on Scare Tactics, and she was a producer, and they always would have safety meetings before every prank. And they're like, okay, here's where. So she would have to sweep the set for objects that someone could pick up and use as a weapon.
Oh yeah, wow.
Yeah.
So you went from acting in them to, I assume you're producing and a little more involved now. It seems like you're in almost all of them now, the ones I've seen.
I ended up really watching these, what they call them story producers, which are writers for the pranks. And they would be on set and they would be there with the beat sheet. And they would sort of be the creative entity where they would sort of know what the prank was, and they would work with the actors and the director and sit next to the director during the prank, and they'd be in charge of making sure that we got what was written on the page and that the network approved. And so, the director's there calling cameras and, talking to actors and making sure all that stuff, and that they get the visuals, and the story producer would just sit there on the side like, okay, the next beat is, So they would talk to the director, and then then the director would communicate with the actors. Sort of like, okay, let's go to the next step. And depending on the skill of the actor, sometimes it's, they'd be saying the words and they would repeat those words like a parrot. And then actors would just be like, okay, go to the next beat. This is the, find the, dirty underwear in the drawer beat. Or whatever it was.
Huh. Dirty underwear is key to good comedy.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Do you have any questions?
It does seem like writing a prank is like writing a good joke. Like you can't be too safe and expected, but there's this like too far thing. But it seems like the stakes are much higher because like if you go too far, you're gonna kill somebody or something.
Well, I guess for too far from our point of view, be like, oh no, it's not believable, or they'll never believe it. But it's so funny.
That element too.
Yeah. Well, isn't it a spectrum of also too believable? Because I think that's part of what makes a good prank good is absurdity, right? Like, because there's a point at which just pure meanness, right?
Right. Like if you pull a gun on someone and you're going to get that reaction of like, oh my God, they fear for their life.
Mm-hmm. Classic prank.
Classic prank.
He thought he was going to die.
Yeah. No, I realized there's one prank on Scare Tactics where I was like, I didn't realize it in rehearsal, but in the moment, I was like, oh gosh, this guy's really in a pickle. because it was like he had worked.
You've had some guns.
Yeah, guns and like that. But I this one was where he was working with this guy, and he had to go to this bank, and all the mark, we call them marks, the people that are getting pranked. The mark was given a backpack by this kind of shady guy who'd already dropped a few seeds of like, this guy's dangerous, or he's kind of off his rocker.
It's dirty underwear.
Yeah, dirty underwear. Yeah, he found dirty underwear. Hey man, you want some of my dirty underwear? No, okay, I'm just asking. A lot of people, And then you move on.
Just handing them out.
Did he just ask if we wanted his dirty underwear? I think he did. Yeah. So he's handed a backpack, and he said, go into this check deposit place and give him a backpack and, hand him this note in an envelope. So I was the bank teller. And so this kid walks in, and I'm like, hey, how's it going? And he hands me the note, and I just look at it, and I go, okay. I have to check with my supervisor, and I just went to see if you're okay with that. He's like, wait, what? What's on the note? I'm like, no, I don't want, I please. And the note said, like, give me all the money. I have a bomb in the bag. And he's like, no, man, that's not my bag. I'm like, no. And all of a sudden, when, I press this little button, the like sirens go off, and there's a security guard actor in the corner, and he reaches for his gun. I'm like, no, man, put the gun away. we can handle this, man. We're going to get you the money. And he's like, I don't even want the money. And then the cops show up. The car peels out that gave him a ride there. So now he's got lasers. Cops get out of the car. They have point gun lasers at us. Like, what are your demands? I was like, he's got a bomb. He's like, no, I don't have a bomb. He's like, what's in the bag? He opens the bag, and there's a bomb in the bag.
Oh my gosh.
And it's beeping, And I realized, like, this guy, that's when I realized, I'm like, oh man, this guy.
So you realized that later?
Yeah. I in rehearsal, we're like, oh yeah, okay. So he comes in with the bag. I'll see the note. All right. And then he'll peel off. The cops will show up. I didn't think like, oh, now this guy thinks he had three. I asked him after the bit, he goes, I had three choices. I was either going to go to jail, which was the best option. I realized in the moment. I was either going to get shot by the cops or get blown up. Like, those were his three options. I was like, oh man, I'm sorry. He's like, no, he's just happy.
He had a good attitude.
Yeah, he had a good, yeah, it's a big roller coaster ride. There's a huge safety net, but you don't know there's a safety net. And the fact if you knew there was a safety net, that ride would not have been as exhilarating for the person unbeknownst taking that ride. So, yeah.
Have you? Doing this. They're almost like social experiments. You're finding out what people do in life and death situations, or in really absurd situations. Right. Like on Fameless, you have. Pitch Fit is one of my favorite segments where you have this panel of Hollywood producers, and someone comes up and tries to pitch, and they just they destroy the pitch. But they're these big, muckety mucks of Hollywood. So you got to do what they say.
So the marks are the ones pitching.
The mark is pitching.
Yeah. They have a real pitch that they've.
They have this great one with Michael Bolton is one of the people on the panel, and he keeps pitching like a theme song for the guy's show. And
right. So on Pitch Fit, you pitch your thing to the.
But it's people that have poured their heart and soul into their real.
They're
pitch.
pitching a real, and they're like, "What about with sharks?" Or like they get.
Michael Bolton's like, "Oh, could there be sharks in it?" And you're like.
And this is like the producer, I guess Biggest Loser, like people.
Well, they're trying to be agreeable to get the pitch done.
Exactly.
So
right.
Sure. That sounds great.
Yeah. Sure. Yeah. So pitch it back to me. Well, okay. So was this little girl on House on the Prairie? But there's sharks. Yeah. I guess they have a shark out and they have a pool of sharks.
So seeing people put in these situations where it really feels like life and death, or I could be famous right now, like. What have you learned about people through watching them go through that, if anything?
Well, it's interesting because Fameless was exposed camera, right? So people go
they all think they're on a reality show.
They all think they're on a reality show. And so that is basically that mentality. You learn a lot of like, I don't want to mess. I want to go with the flow. Of things, and there's this carrot at the end, like, oh man, you're gonna be famous or whatever, and then quickly when stuff goes wrong, it's like it's trying to save face, or it's just trying to get through the situation as quickly and as painlessly as possible. Although everything that we've set up is designed for that not to happen, And a good prank for us, at least for me, what I believe is like we always try to make it the mark's faults or some choice they've made have ended up in this situation. So rather than it's just a show for the market, you walk in,
makes
like,
good comedy.
Yeah. So it's just like, always like, what'd you do? Like that's always the question, And to help facilitate that, you alluded this cop I play, Detective Ross, I believe it was Detective Ross, when it became a recurring character because I was one pencil short. Of a good, I don't know what a pencil short is.
Pencil set
of a crayon set. No, but I was always just like, I was always hearing things a little late, or I didn't understand. And part of that one is you want the mark to talk. You want them to be the smartest person in the room. So they're verbalizing rather than me having to say like, "Oh my gosh, did you? What was that?" I want them to ask me that. Like we did this one where we did a ride along, and I accidentally, early on I was like, "Hey man, I got some cookies off my partner's desk. Have some cookies, whatever." And throughout the early part of the prank, I was just a little even further off than I'm normally at. And then we get this call and like, "Hey man, did someone steal these pot cookies from the evidence locker or whatever? I'm missing my pot cookies." And I'm like munching these cookies in the mic. I didn't want to say, "Hey, I ate the cookies." I was just acting more strange because I want him to say, "You dude, you high. You've been eating those pot cookies." I'm like, "What? I am?" And so now he's got to babysit me, and he's on the radio like, "I think Detective Ross ate some. I think he's high." I'm like, "Come on, man, don't say that. I'm gonna get in trouble."
That is, the element on Fameless of them trying to stay in character for the camera, like the one that comes to mind because I've been rewatching a bunch to get ready for this interview, was Man Mud. You guys have like it's basically like a QVC, like, would you buy that kind of thing?
Would you buy that?
Is that the name of that?
Yeah, would you buy that?
So they have this doctor that comes on and explains he has this face, what is it?
It's a clay. It's from the Zedwellers.
The Zedwellers.
It's a secret recipe from the Zedwellers. And you don't know what the recipe is, and we kind of like get the person and put it on their face.
And he's this the male model looking guy, very handsome and very well spoken.
Yeah, and he wants to do a good job, so he wants to sell it. And so we just give them, what happens is we give them so little information at the top, and then it's like, and action, go. We're like, "So you're going to come on and talk to the doctor's going to come on, and you're just going to sell. Have you done this before? No, you'll get that. All right, 3, 2, 1, go." And they're like, "What? Hi." So it's like not giving them any preparation and giving them any tools and letting them sort of flounder.
And he's got this on his face, and he slowly starts to realize as he lifts the boards and shows the process for making it. It finally shows, basically a digestive system.
Yeah.
And it says all the ingredients that this family eats. And then it just basically implies that he just has their poop on his face.
Yeah. And we're like live TV, and I'm like, sell.
And he's looking right at it, and he's still talking very in character. And the greatest part about that is you'll cut to commercial, and you'll get his moment when the doctor leaves and him talking to everybody without the doctor in the room.
Yeah. He's like, "Do I have it?"
Turnip.
I'm like, I know the bit, but I'm like, "What? I'm sorry. What? I wasn't paying attention." What? He goes, "Yeah, dude, this guy's like I have his on his face." I was like, "Oh, we should ask him about that." I know. And 3, 2, 1.
Keeping a straight face.
Yeah, it's hard, man. I don't not do a very good job of that at all.
You have to edit that out a lot? Or?
No, well, it started out, the first time it really happened was we did a bit where a guy was it was called Virgin Tattoo or whatever. He thought he was on a show called Virgin Tattoo, where, we take Kat Von D, who's a great tattoo artist, and we give people their first tattoo. And that's what they think they're on. Well, we put some numbing cream on, Kat does her tattoo, and then it's a time for the reveal, and he wanted this like elegant tattoo of like, I forget what it was, Mona Lisa or something like that, but a skeleton. And he brought in these images. He's like, "I want this. And it's Kat Von D's amazing." And there's like, "Okay, we're going to reveal. It's going to be part of the show." Before we reveal, though, I have to tell you something. It's not really Virgin Tattoo. He's like, "What?" He goes, "Yeah, it's called Revenge Ink, where we give unique tattoos to people who have wronged somebody in the past." He's like, "What are you talking?" I go, it all makes sense. We have this actress come out. She's like, "Hello," She's like, "I know this woman." She's like, "In college." He's like, "To be honest with you, I was drunk in college. Maybe I remembered you." She's like, "You screwed over my girlfriend, and I want to get back at you." He's like, "What are you talking about?" He's like, "Listen," I forget what his name was. He's like, "Listen, TJ." He's like, "No, I'm DJ." He's like, wait, you're not. I go,
I got the wrong guy.
shoot. He's like, what? I'm like, I think it's been a long. Oh no. Let's just reveal a tattoo. He's like, does this have something? I go, yeah. It's just I think it's called
Turnip.
butt is the tattoo, where it's like a chicken with a butt on it or whatever. And he goes, this is where I lost it. He's standing there with a mirror looking at it. He goes, is that what's permanently on my back? And I go, I just start. Yep. He's like, are you laughing at me? I was like, sorry, man, it's been a long week, but yeah. And I just couldn't keep a straight face. He's like, my grandmother. I'm going to see my grandmother next week. It's just like all these layers of this guy. This thinks he's got this real tattoo. We put like numbing cream on it, and people who never got a tattoo, like they just hook, line, and sinker.
Hey, you. Are you enjoying this interview?
Oh, I know I am.
Oh, I sure am. I'm actually probably sweating trying to think up new questions right now.
This very moment.
But if you're enjoying it, you should become a Babylon Bee subscriber because the interviews are much longer.
Yes, and we also have the most fun because the portion of the interview that does not go up here on YouTube publicly can be Googled, so our guests kind of kick back a little bit and get a little looser.
They tell us what they really think.
And we always do our 10 questions, which for everybody and tends to be the funnest part of the show.
Yes. So become a Babylon Bee subscriber at babylonbee.com/plans, and you get the full interview show, and you also get it a day early. Do it now.
Believe it.
I'm sure you get asked this a lot, but what's the percentage of people that just get all pissed off and you have to have them sign something? People don't want to sign things. And
To be honest with you, not a lot. We are pretty good about people signing, and it's a 2-party signature where you get them signed before when they audition or for the show. Like they think they're on. I mean,
I
with
guess
Fameless,
for that one, it's,
for Fameless is like we got their signature, but still after the fact.
Yeah.
Then we reveal what the real show was. We have to also get their signature.
Yeah, so how often does the person not sign afterwards?
Not a lot. I mean, we sign a lot, almost all the time. There's only maybe 1 or 2 of my entire.
Really? Wow.
So you do like a screening process to see like you think this person.
Yeah, they have this whole system set up where they're auditioning for something or they do this for a job interview and they fill out all the paperwork. There's
I'm thinking more like man on the street pranks. You have a higher percentage of that kind of thing.
Well, with scare tactics, the friend was setting them up, so their friend was there.
Yeah, that helps.
Yeah,
that helps. Fameless, and usually with Fameless, it's like they just think they either ruin something. They're on the hook for something, and then when it's all prank, you're off the hook. Like
you relief,
You don't. Oh God, that's great. But then I did a show. I didn't talk about this one. It was oh God, it's one of the most embarrassing prank shows I've done. It was called
please tell us.
"Smile, You're Under Arrest."
Okay,
and it was with Joe Arpaio, that sheriff in Arizona. Like I got deputized in Arizona. And where you have you heard these stings where you're like, come on down for the lottery, sign up. You got this pamphlet, you come down and they show up and they're like, all right, fill out your name, sign here. This is who you are. You're under arrest, actually. You have warrants out for your arrest.
And these are real.
So anyway, so they took that and made that a television show. So they're like, so most pranks are where things get worse and worse and worse. And then you get let out of the hook. You're like, all right, it's just all prank, whatever. This one was the opposite. And it was like things got better and better and better for them. And then they're like, and actually none of this is real and you're under arrest.
But you really are under arrest.
But they really are under arrest.
Wait, so they actually had outstanding warrants.
Yes, they had accent, and everyone around them were actually undercover cops, all our extras and all whatever. And we got deputized and for that thing, and it was it's one regret I do have this. I wish I hadn't done the prank show, but what I realized, everyone signed. So you're talking about people signing, like you're
so
just
even
got
the
arrested.
Convicts, yeah.
You just got arrested on television.
Not national.
I don't know if it's now just cable. And what I learned was going to jail for these people was not that big of a deal. And also, like, one guy was like, what we do is, because you can get a warrant, I learned this, you can get a warrant out for your arrest if you don't show up to your court date. Mm-hmm. So what they would do is like they put them in handcuffs too, like on TV, like that we arrested them, or they did,
Mm-hmm.
and they give them enough money to post bail, and then they set up a new court date. So they're like, here's money to post bail plus a little extra. Go home, then show up at your next court date and it'll be fine. And so that's why most people sign. And also, one guy was like, he's like, hey, what jail are you going to send me to? He's in handcuffs. They're like, he goes, oh, that's my home jail. No, man, I don't want to post bail. Jail. Yeah. And then on Monday, he gets out of jail for that week, and he calls the producers and thanks them.
Wow.
Then when will this be on? I want to tell everybody. I want to show my friends, let them know. Which for me, if I had gone to jail,
I don't want that on TV.
I don't want that on TV. I don't know what I would do if I was arrested.
So when you do these pranks, I know I've seen on Scare Tactics you guys have bonus clips where other people are going through it. Yep. So how many times do you do one prank to get the right?
We usually have 4 people in the queue.
Okay.
So what happens the morning of our prank is we get there on set, the actors go through it. We usually have our A mark, like they'll know like this, they'll rank the marks, like this girl's gonna be great. This guy, he could be lightning in a bottle. So we'll usually do the first one, not with our A mark. Mm-hmm. We'll be like, all right, it gets the actors sort of we'll figure out the kinks, anything that's wrong with it, whatever. It might not work. After the prank, we usually like sit down with the mark and be like, what would have been better? Did you suss anything out? Like what was... So we take that information, then we powwow like, okay, this part here with the dirty underwear, that was too much. All right, maybe we'll make it a dirty t-shirt.
The underwear was too dirty.
It was too dirty. Or whatever, So we would learn, and then we would pull the mark, but sometimes we would get lightning in a bottle, and that first mark was great. And, so with Fameless like that and Scare Tactics, it was usually like 3 or 4 people in the wings waiting to be like brought to set under the guise of it. With Scare Tactics, it usually was like a one-day job.
Like a temp job.
Yeah, temp job. Same, and Fameless was like, hey, we're going to hang out and, the producers aren't ready for you,
Mm-hmm.
So.
Okay.
But yeah. Now with Prank Encounters is a little bit different.
Okay.
Because
there's 2 people.
They're so involved. Mm-hmm. It's usually like we go for broke, and on the occasion... because there's 2 marks and they start in different locations and then they meet for the final bigger prank, we sometimes get a sort of a dud mark that we have to like, oh, okay, we're in a holding pattern over here for this mark. We're gonna let this person go, and then we'll bring in somebody else.
So what is the moral code of a prankster?
The moral code?
Yeah, I assume that at some you have we kind of talked about it a little earlier, but like between a prank that's too mean and a prank that's just not believable.
Yeah.
Where is that? Where do you go? You must while you're pitching things, there must be ideas where you go, no, we can't do that. It's just too mean.
I would say like with pulling a gun on somebody or threatening their life with a person that's not an alien or like a real person with a gun pointing at you for me is like, it's not interesting at all. I mean, that's dangerous and I don't know.
But you'll threaten their life with a diddly alien.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's okay.
Yeah. Well, or an alien that like, it's never like, I think with life, we never say, oh, this person they're going to attack us. It's like, there's this alien out there, and aliens are inherently scary, right? We don't know what the alien's intentions are. They might attack. You might see an alien attack somebody and go off and maybe not see them get killed or whatever, but like fear the worst. Yeah, I think that's okay in my mind for some reason. I'm totally comfortable with that because it's an alien, the more absurd it is, I guess the more digestible it is for people. I have a pretty far line that I personally would go. Like to me, like arresting people, that I guess that was the line. I'm like, I don't know, that's not fun to me.
Of really arresting
them,
That's a sad.
And
ending.
even though like which weird, but it's like they broke the law. This is what the cops are doing. They're going to get arrested anyway. But to film that seems to, and
just the beats are backwards, just for them to like think that they're getting this amazing thing. And it doesn't feel like it.
Well, there's some things that are just. Arresting a person and taking their freedom away is a necessary evil of society. It's not really something you want to like laugh and take joy in.
Right. I didn't take joy in it. I got really uncomfortable.
I bet.
But like the Terrence Howard one, Fright Club, this kid, and it was all like Terrence Howard, like you're going to spend the day in New Orleans and then you're come back and have an evening with Terrence Howard, because they're all Terrence Howard fans. But then when we go into when you're on the property, or I forget what it was, but it was this kid who there was a whole boat ride in the very beginning, and he was super scared. He was very timid. We're like, oh, this guy, we might have to get a new mark, because he's like very cautious and scared, just like afraid. And then by the end of the prank, when there was some sea monster, there was some sort of creature that was attacking the group, he like stepped up and he was like, no, he was like protecting people. Like, and it was like, you went from like this scared little kid to be like, in a matter of 2-3 hours, you're like, all right, here's a plan. He's like, he's
diving off to attack the sea monster.
Yeah. And I was
a real hero's journey. I like it. Yeah.
Those would be the moments I'd be most excited to witness. Like,
because it's interesting to put people in these high pressure situations and see like who freaks
out. The guy that like stands in front of the woman or whatever. And then I've seen the ones you have where sometimes the guy just takes off.
There's like a big buff guy with his girlfriend and he just takes off running and he just it makes you laugh.
But it's interesting, like because we usually play that. I mean, we play where everyone around you is an idiot and you've got to take control of the situation and you've got to fix it, because no one wants to see actors fix the situation.
Right.
So you surround them with people like me who are like just a little bit off and are useless, and they have to take control. And that's
one cracker short of a picnic. Is that I'm trying to think of what the analogy would be.
I was trying to think of a dirty underwear.
One pickle metaphor. Slice short of a sandwich.
So you ever watch a prank show and you go, that's obviously fake. That was obviously staged.
Yeah, I do. Just because when we're always doing that, like in the prank shows that I'm doing, even live, I'm always looking at their eyes. I'm like, is he buying this? In my head, I'm like, is he buying this? Does he think this is over top? How do we adjust the levels going forward? Like, is this person all in? And usually, like, I mean, what you see on television is a 4-minute edited version. Yeah. We're planting seeds, and there are these seeds that are just testing, like, it's like psychology. Like, if they buy this, maybe I can push it here. They're not buying that. Okay, I'm going to pull back a bit. I'm going to try to be kind of normal or whatever. And because I'm just constantly looking at their eyes. I'm like, is he darting around? I want them to avoid looking around the room because they could spot a camera. But I'm also like gauging, like, I just kind of like, it's like going fishing. Like I put a little chum in the water. I'm like, if I act real stupid, like if my phone on the desk is ringing and I don't answer it, like what will he do? Like some of me is like you're curious. Like if I'm like, your phone's ringing. Oh, is that me? Oh, sorry. Yes. It's just like little like psychological tests. I guess I'm doing in the moment. And when the real fun is like when you have them hooked. And you can just play in that space and get them wound up. And they're saying so much funny stuff that they don't even realize. Like I'm thinking of the Ed. I'm like, oh my God, this guy. He doesn't even realize what he's saying, So
how often does it happen? A person realizes they're on a prank show before the reveal?
It happens probably 10% of the time, or they spot a camera, or they get too weirded out. Like we had this one in Prank Encounters 1 where it was like, oh, you're gonna do some inventory at this it's an old military facility, and they forgot it was here. We got to get rid of these boxes, but we got to figure out what's classified and what's not classified. That was the setup, which is kind of like bizarre. It's already, and sometimes like the miscommunication of like we telling these marks, oh, you're gonna do a temp job, it's gonna be an office job, and like these girls show up and they walk in, they're dressed for like a nightclub, and they're like they're sitting down and they're looking across and they're like, this is your partner Dave. Hey, what's up? They're like, and they're just all of a sudden like the one girl's like, yeah, I'm gonna go. I'm not gonna, I'm gonna get out of here. This is not what I signed up for. And I instead of be like, oh, it was a prank. They're like, all right, Dave, call it. But I'm like, I just want to live in this uncomfortable moment. Like, can I stay? I'd love to stay. I mean, if she's gonna go, can I get her pay or what?
You got any questions, Kyle? I keep taking your questions. I feel like.
Well, yeah, I was asking about the fake shows. Are there any that are...
Oh, yeah. I always think Punk'd is, because how can
Punk'd? Oh, yeah, the actual...
I don't know. That giant of a celebrity, Well, I guess unless you got people...
Sometimes I watch something and I go, Well, okay, so it's less of the produced shows and more of the little clips you see on YouTube or whatever you go.
Oh yeah, YouTube. I think
that was clearly staged.
A lot of those
or whatever. But I don't know if you know of any shows that are like.
Yeah, but I don't think people care that they're staged on
No.
YouTube. Some of the things, the comments are like, "Oh, I don't think they're." But yeah, I mean, I have a gut, but I never know.
You never know for sure.
You never know for sure because people will do crazy things. We had one on Scare Tactics. It was a cult, and they're going to pass the cup. The final moment was like everyone's going to drink from the cup, and we're going to go see our Heavenly Father or whatever, And so they're passing the cup, and in rehearsal, like, okay, so you pass the cup, you're going to foam with the mouth, you're going to.
He did tell us he has no line. He will go as far as.
So this guy this guy was supposed to. The cup was coming to our mark eventually, but in the meantime, all these actors are taking a sip, they're foaming, and they're going down, and so in rehearsal, we're like. All right, he's going to grab the cup. He's going to protest. We'll kind of push it. You got to drink it. And then he'll say, no, I don't want to drink it. So the cup passes to him, and he looks at it, and we're like, all right, here it comes. He goes. And then he passed it. And we're in the truck. We're like, what? Oh, my God. And then, like, after the bit, it didn't work. Our prank didn't work. I go, hey, man.
Are you okay?
First of all, I'm like, what were you? I go, did you understand what the cup was? Maybe you didn't. He goes, yeah, you drink the cup and you die. And I go, yeah, that was a bit. So I guess a follow-up question for me would be, why did you drink the cup? And he goes like, I don't know, man. If it's my time to go, it's my time to go. What? That's not how it works, man. You can say no.
He's just like, when in Rome.
Yeah, when in Rome. Like,
everybody's doing it. I didn't want to make an awkward situation.
Yeah.
It's just
because we did a similar thing like that on the Terrence Howard thing, where it was like a voodoo thing, and we had a guy like cut his mouth, and his blood would spit out in the cup. And then that cup would be passed.
Oh my god!
And the girl was like, I really can't. I'm diabetic or whatever. She's like, I'm lactose. And I'm like, I'm the same. Yeah, I don't really doing blood these days. If I could just, I would any other liquid I could do.
If you're British, you're like, oh, pudding.
Do you have any gluten-free blood?
But so you never know. I guess you never know what. If people are faking it, but you get a sense of like, come on, you're not gonna see the camera there or whatever, or the reaction's too perfect or whatever. So, but you never know.
Yeah, sure.
What are some memorable pranks, or just the most elaborate? Or we'll leave it there. I have some questions.
I guess the most elaborate prank show I've done is it's probably prank encounters, because you are dealing with two people who never met, and they're starting in two different situations. And just from a logistical standpoint, it's like you got to have actors, because the control room can only talk to one set of actors in dealing with one mark. The other one is kind of going not rogue, but like you're on your own. Like I was put in that position a lot just because I wrote the pranks. I knew the pranks back and forth. I knew the beats I needed to hit. And I would just, you need to get the mark to buy into your world and make sure they get, like, we're going to this house. We're going to get, we're inspecting it for spiders or bugs or whatever. Have you ever dealt with spiders? No. You'd be fine. Meanwhile, it's a whole thing about spider brains, So for me, it's, in terms of the complexity of the prank and the biggest prank encounters has my heart. But, Fameless, too, is just, like, so light and so funny. The only thing, I guess, actually, the prank show I love doing the most is another true TV prank show called Double Cross with Blake Griffin. That's when it's a little bit more digestible, I think, where you don't feel as bad, because it's like, you're going to go prank him, but we double cross you. So you're already buying in the fact, like you almost get what's coming to you.
Gotcha.
Where you're like,
yeah.
we can prank you because you're pranking your friend.
Yeah.
And it's a little bit digestible. Whereas Fameless is like, people's hopes and dreams. It doesn't feel as like, some days you'd walk home like, maybe I crossed the line.
Yeah.
He thought it was like a bigger deal and it was. And he like.
I loved that you had the one guy who you guys are like trapped in a trailer and you have like dinosaur eggs.
Oh, yeah.
You start to realize they're dinosaur eggs.
That guy brought a rock into the. Did you see that? Okay, so we're doing the bit, right? And this guy, he was like, we're gonna go find some. I don't know what we were searching for, but I picked up an egg of a looks like a dinosaur egg, and he's like, we had some zoologist there, and he's like, that's not a rock, man. That's an egg. And you hear this growling thing, and
outside,
I pissed off the mark. He's like, I don't trust that Dave guy, man. I don't know. This guy, I told him to put the rock down. And it was like, I caused all this mayhem. But like, he's like,
you keep doing it.
Yeah. And he's like, all right, you guys, get into the trailer, And so he picks up a rock. And I'm like, trying to look at the cameras. I'm like, to the producers, like, I'm like, he's got, and we're in. Boom, lock the door. And I'm sitting with this guy. And he's a big guy. Huge. Yeah. And I will try to say something. He goes, shut up. You say one more word, I swear to God.
Yeah.
We were trapped in the room not as bigger than anything like this. And I got a guy who's pissed off at me and ready to like throw a rock
and
at
what is
me.
this? You're trying not to anger the angry creature that's outside, right?
Yeah.
And it's their eggs that you have.
Yeah, we have the eggs and then I break the egg.
Of course, you drop and then stumble and drop the egg. But what I loved is at the end of that one when it's revealed that the prank's on him. He goes, "Well, of course I pranked myself because I just want to do anything for fame." Yeah, I love that he acknowledged that.
Yeah. We did one prank on Fameless that was very much not in this sort of realm of tone. It was more of a scare tactics thing where we were like. We were working with the border cross. It was called border control or border something, whatever, alien or whatever. And we're like, hey, we're gonna, this guy bought in the fact that we were gonna sit in porta potties as hides, which had no glass. I mean, I'm really like putting my arm out there, like we're not gonna be seen, but we're supposed to be like, you're gonna observe how illegal aliens are gonna cross into the border. This is a pickup spot. And so we had these little rigs, whatever. And the whole joke was like this truck came out and then like illegal aliens, were hopping out of the truck. But then a real alien came in and like attacked everybody. That's
not a prank, it's just a pun.
Yeah. Then like a real alien and it's just like this guy, it's so amazing where the person are witnessing it and like, what? And then a guy comes around like, what'd you see? He's like, I saw like an alien. He's like, yeah, I know. He goes, no, not an illegal alien. It's like and he couldn't even he's like, what I'm about to say, he's not, I saw it with my own eyes. He's like an alien. Like to me, we always have these once the mark starts, like we have a beat sheet and like all these things, they start saying the synopsis or anytime someone starts recounting what happened and it's following your beat sheet and they're saying things that you want them to see and hear, it's like, it's beautiful. Because you're like, they're buying into this.
Yeah.
This crazy thing.
What about any time things have gone wrong?
What do things have gone wrong?
It seems like when I watch those shows, like there have to be times where just things did not go right, like as planned.
Yeah. I mean, there was times where, and I don't remember what show, but when people run, that's probably the most dangerous. We had one kid run across the street and it was like in a busy traffic. He just wanted to get out because, he thought he pissed some mobster person off and he just ran. He took his shirt off and ran and we lost him for like 45 minutes. And someone found him like,
was that the limo?
Yes. Yeah. And the guy's like, why did you take your shirt off? He's like, I don't know, man. I just wanted to change my appearance. I did not want to
Puts a fake mustache on.
Yeah.
He leaves town, changes his name. Well, do we want to go into the subscriber lounge?
Yeah,
I want to get some more
time here.
Crazy stories. I feel like we could just
love crazy stories.
Mention a bunch of his pranks and have him tell us the cool stories.
But let's do it.
Let's do it.
Oh, and is there anywhere you want people to check you out or follow you or anything?
I don't know. I'm so terrible at social media. I don't even know what my handle is.
He is on Twitter.
I'm on Twitter and Instagram.
Okay.
I don't even know what I think
Your
it's
Twitter is Dave Storrs.
Dave Storrs?
Yep.
That makes sense. That makes sense. Dave Storrs is my Twitter. And then I don't even want to, Instagram. But
Watch his shows.
Watch Fameless.
Yeah.
yeah, Fameless. That's probably,
I mean, his all shows are good, but one thing I think what I love about Fameless is it's like where a lot of the shows it's about the scare. Fameless is about the absurdity. Most of the time.
You would like Double Cross then too.
Okay. I love the absurdity.
Yeah, because it's more light.
Yeah.
All right, well, we're going to dig into some more crazy behind-the-scenes stories and laugh a lot. And we're going to go into our subscriber lounge. If you're a Babylon Bee subscriber, you get it. Or if you're
subscribe to the YouTube right now.
YouTube, smash that join button, and you can check out the rest of the conversation.
Coming up next for Babylon Bee subscribers.
So this guy was just like, man, we're not getting anything out of this guy. It's like, anyway, as soon as the breakaway vase went, he lost it.
You got any cool stories?
I got a good story for that.
Okay, yeah.
Okay.
I was doing Tony and Tina's wedding.
I'd like to see less cancel culture and more conversation culture.
Yeah.
That's something that made me excited to have you on.
Well, you know what? I actually do think if outside of social media.
Enjoying this hard-hitting interview? Become a Babylon Bee subscriber to hear the rest of this conversation. Go to babylonbee.com/plans for full-length, ad-free podcasts. Kyle and Ethan would like to thank Seth Dillon for paying the bills, Adam Ford for creating their job, the other writers for tirelessly pitching headlines, the subscribers, and you, the listener. Until next time, this is Dave D'Andrea, the voice of the Babylon Bee.